Well, I'll start with the unfortunate announcement that Andrew Painter, it appears, is going to need Tommy John surgery. So he has appointment with Dr. Elatross on Monday. If surgery is needed, that's tentatively would be scheduled for Wednesday. At this point, I think that's going to happen, but I don't want to say 100% only until Dr. Elatross has a chance to see him himself. But we've treated him conservatively. We've made progress at times. He's thrown. He's felt good at times, but unfortunately he's had the reoccurrence of pain, and just feel it's a time the doctors have looked in, but it's time to move forward and have the surgery. And in our doctor's recommendations, it's feelings at this time. And then Dr. Elatross will be the second opinion on that.
If he has surgery, would that mean he would lose next year too, physically?
Yes. Yeah, we've always felt that unfortunately, even when this happened in the beginning of spring, once you went down for a little bit, we'd always pretty much known that if he had it earlier even in the season, and of course you're going to go conservatively per doctor's recommendations because nobody wants to have surgery if they can avoid it. We'd always felt that he'd pretty much miss 24 anyway.
You know what the hopes were for him this year, how disappointing for him, but also for you guys as a club.
Well, first of all, feel for him tremendously. He's a tremendous young talent, and right on the verge of being a big league pitcher. But normally these surgeries, the players come back and they do well for themselves. He's still very young. He'll have a long future ahead of himself. Of course, it hurts the organization, hurts the team, because I think he would have been contributing for us, and I think he could have contributed very well. But more importantly for him, we just feel for him at this point. But again, a youngster, he's 20 years old, just turned 20. You start talking about missing next year and coming back for 25. Well, you're 21, 22 years old at that time, and even if there's a little bit of time delay as far as getting back, building his stuff back up, which sometimes happen, you're talking about a very young man that has a long future ahead of him.
Why didn't he have the surgery in March if this is kind of what ended up happening?
Well, basically it's always a scenario that they feel that if they can possibly treat it out. I mean, they gave him, he healed, there was some healing process, and some of the results that they've had from the imaging, and that there has actually been healing, but it's still bothering them. So, but you never know that until you go through the process. So that's almost always, unless there's a complete tear. He does not have a complete tear, and there's many pitchers that are pitching out there with rotator cuff tears. So it's more a matter of symptoms of pain at that time and what they can tolerate, and everybody's different, and it affects everybody. And so in his situation, they felt that they would first prefer to treat him conservatively.
How does that surgery affect the club both in the short term and the long term?
Well, short term, I don't think it affects us very much right now because I wasn't myself counting on him at this point for an extended period. I think if anything, it would have been a bonus if he came back. So I don't think it affects us for the short term. As you go forward, it'll affect us as we look forward to next year. And I have no idea. I mean, we have, as you know, Aaron's a free agent. Do we re-sign him? What else takes place? How do our young pitchers progress the rest of the year with Abel and McGarry and other starting pitchers that we have? So I can't really speak for the long term as of yet. I know we'll be looking at him and thinking in 2025 he's got a real good chance to be in a rotation at that time. So, but that's a long time away.
You spoken to him, and what was his reaction to the?
I haven't spoken to myself yet because so many other people have spoken to him. So I've gotten all the information through Paul, and a couple of our people are very, very close to him. I'll talk to him coming up here.
How does he? The word was, how is he? Seem to be taking the news?
Well, I mean, of course, he's disappointed. I mean, he had hoped that he'd be in a position where conservative treatment would work for him, but it has not. So I think at this point, then it's okay. I'm ready to move forward. I need to go ahead and get this done because he wants to get back on the mound as soon as he possibly can while following the doctor's guidelines.
Dave, what's your current understanding of Bryce to first base situation, the timeline?
Well, I don't really, when I say that, the way I would answer it is I think he's going to go to first base at some point here. He's working out. You see him working out all the time. He looks like he feels comfortable over there. He's throwing from first base. But it's also a situation that when he's in a position where, okay, we feel, it's been a strange, as you get through this time, 4-day All-Star break, you come back, day-night doubleheader on Saturday, rain on Sunday, off day Monday, so there hasn't been a lot of work at first base in the recent time period. So I think it's more a matter, okay, let's get him out there. hit some ground balls to him, do his throw, and do some the cutoffs and relays. And when he finally says, "Hey, I'm comfortable and ready," he's been cleared from a doctor's perspective, so we'll be prepared to put him out there. I do not think that per se when he says that he'll go out there and play every single day for a week straight. I think he'll play out there whatever it is, a day or two, and get a day off and work him back in that regard. But now, I'm anticipating that, but that's why I always say anticipate, because I can't 100% tell you it's going to happen. But I've always felt that we would know by the trading deadline if he will be able to do it, not necessarily play it that particular day, but that if he would be able to do it from his own mind perspective and our own perspective.
Has he not said yet whether he's ready to play first base?
Well, I don't speak to him on a daily basis. Our trainers and Rob Thompson does. I mean, I see him, but they visit with him on that. And he's just not, so far, I mean, based upon what's happened with the time frame perspective. I mean, again, with the All-Star break and the crazy weekend that we had game-wise and the day off on Monday, I can understand very much so because he wants to feel comfortable when he goes out there. And as good an athlete as good as he's actually looked over there to me and watching him, he still has to, know he wants to feel comfortable himself.
As far as the trade deadline goes, what are the club's priorities?
Well, I mean, you're always looking to get better any way you possibly can, but I would say that, part of what we need is based upon what happens with Bryce, because, I mean, if Bryce can move to first base, it allows us then to free up the DH spot and put Kyle over there a little bit more at that time, and then we have the ability to decide what we want to do in left field. Now, we could do a lot of different things, or the outfield period, but let's just say, do you play Kyle out there to get bat somewhere else? I think really what we're looking for a little bit is somebody that can swing the bat from the right-hand side would probably be the best way to, but not just any position either. So I'm going to keep a little open-mindedness to that because there's some different type of thought processes that we have. But somebody, maybe Rojas, maybe end up playing the defense over the offense at that particular time. So maybe we don't go outside the organization. Maybe we decide. I do think Pache will be back relatively soon. So that puts us in another position to get the right-hand bat out there that was swinging it very well. Let's see how Rojas does it. There's no question he's outstanding defensively, so he's going to add to you in that regard with his speed. Maybe we don't do anything in that regard. And then just like probably almost every organization in baseball, I would say you're looking at starting pitching depth. Our bullpen, Sir Anthony felt great yesterday. He feels good today, so he's relatively close to going out. And then we're in a position where Alvarado's making progress, so I think our bullpen has good depth and is in a position where that is not our priority. We also have guys in the minors in our bullpen that are throwing very well. So I think it's more a situation where starting pitching depth is just something, because when you go beyond our big four, I'll call them that, and then you have Sanchez, who's done a very fine job. Falter's throwing better. Nelson's depth, Abel and McGarry are depth, but I never know how they're going to react as young guys. So that would be something we keep our eyes open to.
Do you feel like, given the starting rotation, you mentioned the big four, is there not a need to add another pitcher that can start in a postseason game barring injury?
I don't think there's the need, but I don't also think that you ever close anything off at this time of year.
Last year,
I'm not going to say much more because I'm not going to exactly tip my hands on what we're trying to do, but I think that's probably good where I fall at this point as far as what our thoughts would be in that regard.
Last year we asked you about trading top prospects, and you said there's some guys we definitely would not trade. Painter being one of them because he could have been in the rotation. How do you feel right now about how big you might want to go, emptying the farm system? Maybe not emptying the farm system, but trading some of these top prospects to get a bigger piece, whether that be a bat or a starting pitcher?
I don't think I'll say any more on the trading stuff. I think I've said enough. I think I've tipped my hands enough on what it is. You're never looking to trade your top prospects, so. But I can't also tell you that anytime somebody drops something on your lap that you can't say no, you're doing that. But I think I've probably said enough.
Dave, before the season, I understand that the coaches added a couple of pitchers for Andrew Painter. There are some people in baseball that tell me a cutter is not really good for a young pitcher for his elbow. Do you think adding those pitches, he already had 3, affected him in a way where it helped cause the injury?
First of all, he only had 1. He didn't have
Okay.
a couple.
Did he add the cutter?
He had 4 pitches before.
Oh.
Oh, so that's, yeah. So he had one other pitch he was working on. And we've called it a cutter, but I'd also say it was really a variance off a slider, so it really wasn't very much of a different pitch.
So you don't think it affected him in any
No,
way?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. Yeah, I mean, and really, it's quite a situation where we told him, we're adding a cutter, and we called it that, but it's really more of a slider, a variance of a slider that he was already throwing, just a little bit different. I do not think that it caused it, no.
My apologies if you kind of indicated this earlier, but just to clarify, if he got the surgery in March, do you think that he would have been able to come back possibly next season?
Possibly later in the season, possibly.
It sounds like you might be interested in some right-handed power. Does Hoskins have a chance this year? Are you writing him off yet?
Well, not during the regular season.
It has to be in the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah, he does not have a chance during the regular season.
This far out, what's your read? Do you think there will be opportunities to upgrade? What's your read on the market currently? Because it's unclear who's selling.
You are absolutely correct on that. So, I mean, it's an unusual, we have, what's today? Today's Wednesday, so 2 weeks from, I get lost here with the days, so 2 weeks from yesterday is the trading deadline at 6 o'clock. So 2 weeks is really a long time in Major League Baseball trading deadline period. So I really find that each day sometimes is more like a week as far as conversations are concerned when you get later on in the trading deadline closer to that time period. So I think it's one where I do things will be done. I think there's only a handful of teams that have really declared that they're moving players. I think there's also a group of clubs that are pretty much saying, let's see what happens. And may go to past the last weekend. That would not surprise me. So you have to be prepared for that. And then there's a group of clubs that that are adding players for sure. So
how do you look at your team right now, just in general? It's second best record in baseball since June 2nd. Is this a World Series? I mean, you guys made the World Series last year, but I mean, how good do you feel about this team?
I feel real good about it. I think it has a chance to win. I think I like our club a lot. I think we've won a lot of games, but we also have a way to continue to improve. I think from an offensive perspective in particular, and we're getting there, you see slowly but surely with some of the guys. I mean, really what comes down to, we got 4 really good starting pitchers and a 5th guy that stepped in. I like our bullpen a lot. Our offense has gotten better, and I think it will continue to get better. And so I think that we have the way I would say it is that I think that we have a club that has starting pitching, that if they're throwing well in any short series can shut anybody down. We have a shutdown bullpen when it's throwing well. And we have as many hitters in our lineup that can hit good pitching as any club, really. I mean, it's hard to hit good pitching, period. So I'm not saying that anybody does it, but we probably have as many guys as anybody. So I like our overall club and our capabilities as we move forward.
Do you think
we have to play well, too.
Do you think getting Schwarber off his feet could help him offensively?
I think so. I think he's such a gamer, and he is never going to complain. And if you asked him, how do you feel, he'd say, I'm great, I'm ready, all those type things. But when we originally acquired him, we didn't acquire him to be an everyday left fielder. But it's just been circumstances, and we had always felt that way. So I think it will benefit him just to get it off his feet. He's a big guy, and now I know he makes some Gold Glove plays once in a while on left field too. So, yeah, I think it'll help him some.
Have there been any further talks with Nola's camp regarding the contracts in spring?
I would never publicly say what we're doing from contract negotiations, but I will just say philosophically, we don't really tackle many contract issues during the season.
Do you still look at Harper as an outfielder ultimately?
As who?
Harper, Bryce Harper.
Yes, eventually, yes.
So his first
I mean, I've seen it written, maybe it will happen later on this year. I don't know that, but I'm not really counting on it this year, because I'm just thinking by the time he gets settled and he starts that progress, but I mean, I don't know if it will, but I think for the future, yes. Yeah, his arm will be able to handle for what the doctor says, and he's a good outfielder, and I think he'd like to go out there and play.
You have to make a call on Noah Song in
Yes.
8 or 9 days. Is your expectation that he will come to the majors with you, or do you still remain in the evaluation process with regards to him?
I would say we don't have any expectations at this point. Say he's a consideration for that, but I don't know where that's going to take us yet. I think it's very dependent upon how he throws over the next 10-day period.
How well
has
has
he been throwing, in your
He's
opinion?
been throwing good. He didn't throw quite as well yesterday, but a couple times at the lower level he threw the ball very well. So we'll wait and we'll see.
You don't want to tip your hand any further, but I'm wondering if you have approval to go ahead and take on salary at the trade deadline if you had to.
We have a very generous owner that wants to win. Just say it that way.
I'm assessing a move that you made last year, not to discount what Noah did for you guys down the stretch, but how would you assess the Moniak trade a year removed from it?
I'll let you assess trades. I never, I've never assessed our trades. You can go ahead and write whatever you'd like on that, but we made a trade that helped us win to get to the World Series. So, I mean, usually when you're in that type of situation, I mean, Mickey Moniak's playing very well, and I'm very happy for him. He's doing great. Didn't play quite as well over here, and sometimes you need to change the scenery, but valuation-wise, I'll let you do that.
Good way to look
Thank
forward.
you.